It's about that time of day again, folks. Welcome back to Nightly Newsletter, boys and girls. Joseph James here. It's Thursday evening, September 24th, 2015. Wrapping up an incredible week of volatility. Boy, oh boy, you really couldn't ask for more. If you're trying to be a short-term trader, volatility is what we're looking for, and we definitely squeezed every last drop of it this week. Boy, oh boy, we got an exciting newsletter in store for you guys and gals. Crude oil is bullish on its way to fill the gap overhead, as well as completing that spike in channel correction. But watch out, though, because I think those sellers are still lingering out there on crude. I have a key level for where I think those sellers are going to come into play on Friday morning. How about the S&P? The E-mini is bullish this evening, and we're watching a bull channel for rotation back to the original trading range from the beginning of this week. How about gold? Yeah, how about that yellow metal? Well, the crazy gold market this week, right, reacting to the VW and the struggling economy around the world. Well, it shot higher today with a bullish spike in channel. Now, that bullish spike in channel, you combine that with a little dose of some volume profiling, means we're looking for a correction lower before the next reload from the buyers. I got a plan for you guys on gold for tomorrow. And how about the euro? The euro, not the currency pair, the euro futures, sitting in the middle of the weekly trading range this evening. So we are sitting right in the middle, and we have a must-hit level for those buyers overhead before the sellers are going to try to take this thing all the way back to those range lows. As you can see, we've got a jam-packed newsletter in store for you guys. We've only got one more day left this week to make our money. It's been a great week so far. Before we jump into our charts though for today, I do want to make sure to remind you to watch this video on our trading blog. First of all, right above the video here, upper left-hand corner, you can grab a free pass, come out and test drive our live trade room as a guest for a day. If you're not a member at School of Trade, you can grab your free pass in the upper left-hand corner. How about the lower left-hand corner? We have a mailing list for our nightly newsletter. You'll never have to worry about missing another newsletter video ever again. All I need is your name and your email address, and I'll send you an email every evening right about 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Right below the video tonight, you can download all the charts you'll see me using in tonight's video. Download those charts, pull the video there. On the right-hand side, you can register as a new trial member. You can get more information about our membership levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And guys, you know we've got someone standing by 24/7, 365 to give you guys a hand if you need any help along the way. All right, I think we know the who, what, where, when, and why. Make sure you're watching this on our trading blog. Let's dive right in. We got 24 hours left here to make our money this week before we go into one of the last weekends of September, right? Running out of time here in the month of September. Let's start off with the crude oil. The black gold crude is bearish in the long term, bearish overall, but bullish in the short term on its way back to retest that 45.52 gap and complete the spike in channel correction before we can expect the sellers to react again. Here's my line in the sand right now. My line in the sand on the black gold, the Texas T, on the crude futures is 45.67. 45.67. Ultimately, we are bearish below and bullish above. That really is the line in the sand. Now, picking up where we left off yesterday, spike down, channel down, right? Got a little bit, it was a little bit interesting this morning as they really ran this thing right down, and then quickly it picked right back up and then started rotating back higher. So clearly just some jitters in the market this morning. But we still have ultimately the same plan of attack that we had from last night's newsletter. We still have that gap sitting there waiting up at 45.52, and we do still expect to see some profit taking, some bargain hunting, and you know, with this bearish environment we're seeing right now on crude, what's the best way to attract a bear? Besides a picnic basket, of course, right? Higher prices. We've got to get those higher prices before those sellers are going to be enticed to get back in again, right? Think about it. If you sold short all the way up here, are you going to settle for selling down here? No way. But if I could get about halfway back there, Yeah, now we're talking. So I'm definitely looking right around this 45, 50 area. Again, my ultimate line in the sand is this range low. That range low at 45.67. Now, don't forget, that's the range we began the week in. Okay, for all you members of mine out there, it would be your rotational clue, right? That's your line in the sand for a long-term rotational market. So anything below 45.67, I'm looking at you members here at School of Trade. We talked about it today in the trade room. In the short term, of course. In the long term, though, that's the low. And it just so happens to perfectly line up with the beginning of the channel. That's typically where you're going to correct back to. So, as we make our way back higher, we see a very well-behaved bull channel, and you want to think channel rotation, right? Channel rotation. Rotate from the low up to the high, down to the low, up to the high, and then back down to the low, and that's, of course, where we'll be looking for it to fail and get our chance to sell back down. Range rotation is also an important part of this. We have our trading range that we began the week with. Take that, copy and paste it. You get the range below, copy and paste, range below that. So as of right now, we are effectively trading inside of this range. I just went out and shaded them. I shaded one than the other just to create a sense of contrast there so it's easier on the eyes. But that's all we're doing. We're just simply rotating now. Sellers tried twice to go lower. One try by the buyers, second try coming. So between the channel rotation, right, between the channel rotation and the range rotation, we shouldn't have much problem getting back up to at least fill the gap, to test the range low, and then from there, that's where we need to see the sellers react. That's where we're going to be watching very, very closely tomorrow, up around this 45.67 to 45.52 area, because this is where I'll be looking for buyer failure. Can't get it going higher, sell it back down, right? Buyer failure. But if we don't, if we slip, because what may happen is we may go up and then one little pullback, we might find ourselves right back in this range from earlier on this week. And if we do, guess what's going to happen? It's going to try to rotate back up to range highs. So remember the range rotation idea. Rotate from low to high, back down to low, back up to high. If we can slip into the range above, we'll rotate from low to high there. What will be very important is watching this area right around that 45.67 tomorrow. Assuming we get up there, I'm looking for buyer failure to sell it back down. If we do slip inside that range, I'm looking for seller failure to buy that low. Very, very important we look around that range low for tomorrow. Now, there's a chance that we may not even make it there. Keep an eye on this channel rotation. If we break down here overnight, watch out for that failure, right? Watch out for the failure, because what should happen is not happening. And what we should be seeing here, again, is that channel rotation, the range rotation, up either into the range low and failure there, or into the range above and complete the full rotation coming all the way back where we came from this week. But if we don't, if we happen to stumble here and we don't complete that rotation back higher, if we happen to stumble, the sellers are going to jump all over this. And if we get back into this range below, range rotation, and we'll find our way back down to that 43.05 lickety split tomorrow morning. As you guys can tell, we're in a real critical area right now on crude. What we should see happen is a test of this range low to fill the gap. Then from there, I'll be looking for buyer failure to sell. I'll be looking for it to slip inside that range and to buy it back up. If we stumble around, expect a test of 44.36, and then we're looking for buyers to try and fail before we sell it back into that range below. Stay patient tomorrow. Tomorrow's a Friday, which means it's early in, early out. We do not trade after 11 o'clock on Friday mornings. We may have open positions going into the afternoon session, but get in early and get that profit locked up early on a Friday. How about the E-mini S&P? S&P is bullish this evening, trading inside a new channel as we make a run back to the original trading range we started from the week. Sellers took price lower this morning with strength down to 1900, but couldn't keep control, and now these buyers are working their way back to where the week began. This is going to be an interesting gap down we just saw here, because you can see as I'm recording this just after 6 p.m. Eastern time here, you'll notice we just gapped right down. Now this gap down tells us now, this actually helps me out a little bit. It gives me a little more information. Now we have a must-hit level overhead. So let's add that on right now. Let's grab that must-hit. There's your must-hit right there. 26.75. That's going to be your must-hit right there. 26.75. That's your line in the sand now for all those buyers out there. If we can't get up there in the overnight session, this market all of a sudden looks extremely heavy going into tomorrow. Now you're going to see another one of these must-reach levels on the euro in just a few moments as well. But you can clearly see, though, what's happened. We've gapped down here after the Globex session opened at 6 p.m., and then we're trying to make our way back higher. If we don't, guess where we're going? And you can see it, right? Remember, here's the range we started the week. Here's the range we're trading in at this time. And if we can't stay above this 1508, 50%, and then all the way back down, I've got 1888 half waiting for the failure. I didn't have this when I wrote the content for this chart. So, looking at this chart now, again, going back in time, we can clearly see the range we began in. We have our bear spike and channel down. We got the correction and the sell back down. We were watching for a bullish move higher. If you remember, we didn't see the buyers hold, collapses back down. We tried twice from the sellers, couldn't get the job done. Now the buyers are trying again, and it doesn't look very good. We have a new bear spike and channel. We've corrected back higher and kept going. That's where the bullishness comes from. So what's very interesting to see right now is that gap down as this opens up at 6 p.m. Eastern time, because that immediately puts the spotlight right on the buyers. What I see right now in today's session is a strong move down, bear spike and channel. Fine by me. We're going to see this price correct back to this area. The fact that we were able to get and close a couple of these candlesticks above that correction, combined with what was a very good looking until the market opened up, what was a very well-behaved bull channel, tells me these buyers are definitely going to give it a shot. But if they don't get this thing done, if we can't get to that 1926.75, it's going to collapse right back down into this range for tomorrow. So keep an eye on that. This is going to be very interesting to see what happens with this candlestick. Because if these buyers, you can see what's happening. The buyers are holding on right now. So where we close and where we end up, if we end up getting back to that high, we will then be right back on track with an A, B, C, D, along with channel rotation, going back up to the range low. And just like for crude oil, that's where we have a big decision to make for these buyers tomorrow. So again, assuming we make it back to that 1926.75, we'll find our way up to that range low. And then that's where we'll be looking for, from there, selling back down or slipping back into that range for the rotation all the way back up. This should be interesting. Look at these buyers coming in and showing clear strength, defending the highs of that trading range. So once again, looking for channel rotation, pushing back higher, complete the measured move before we look for the sellers to come back in. And this becomes your range rotation. If we slip inside the range above, range rotation, so on and so forth. If we end up missing this mark and slipping back in, range rotation, right back down below. We've got a plan for tomorrow, but again, this open lower really puts a lot of pressure on these buyers now to make sure they finish that move, to finish that range and that channel rotation. This should be an interesting one to watch in tomorrow's session. Next up here on the gold. Boy, oh boy, what a run this gold market had today. Literally took off right at 6 p.m. and never looked back. The yellow metal is clearly bullish this evening after today's rocket ship higher. But this type of buying pressure just simply can't be maintained forever. So sellers will be watching for buyer failures to sell this sucker right back into the stop losses on the way back to the beginning of that bullish channel. The first thing that I look at here is I can't help but look at where the volume profile is. Now we have a little bit of volume up here, right? Because you can definitely tell we just kind of shot up and then kind of sat here for really the most of the morning, right? I mean, we found ourselves at 9:30, 10 o'clock. We were already all the way up to these highs, and we've just been chopping around all morning. What's very likely here is by the end of the day tomorrow, we find ourselves back to where the majority of the volume has been traded, right back at what they call the point of control for all you market profile traders, right? This little blue line you see on the chart. That also lines up with a bullish spike and channel. That spike and channel correction, right? The spike in channel, the SAC correction. I saw that was a question that came in on StockTwits overnight. And so this bullish spike in channel tells us definite strength, but we know that it's very likely that we do pull back to attract more buyers with lower prices. On top of that, we see a gap waiting to be filled at 1141.6. And we see this trading range that will most likely be the most important area of interest in tomorrow's trading session. Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for range rotation to fail. And once we see that failure at the lows of this range, then we know exactly what's happening next. We're running towards that gap fill. That will be the easiest one. From there, we're going to be shooting for the original trading range that we started the weekend. We'll go down to the gap, down to the 50% of the weekly range, mark the low, mark the high. That's just 50%. That's another easy target. And then again, what happens to be the point of control is also the spike in channel correction. So we have targets on the way down at the gap fill, at the 50% of the range, and then down at the spike in channel correction, which is also the high volume mark for the weekly range. If we do happen to dip into negative territory, we then end up down around 1126, which is the beginning of the spike in channel and what you market profile traders would consider to be your value area low, right? A very easy market to identify. The hard part is going to be staying patient and waiting for the buyers to fail. On big bullish moves like this, you're not looking for selling opportunities to sell. You're looking for failed buying opportunities to sell. And the reason for that is because you're not fooling anybody right now by trying to sell these highs. It's going to be difficult just to sell a retracement, right, off the high. You're not going to get a very easy wave short, right, or a 50% retracement off the high. What'll be a lot easier is looking to take a little scalp into the stop losses of these buyers and then hold the runner down to, again, target, target, and target below. The ultimate target for tomorrow is going to be that 1134, going all the way back to where we came from to begin the week. That will be the home run target for you short sellers. But stay patient. In my opinion, this trading range is going to be the critical part here for those gold traders. And so we're going to see it rotate. You want to see those buyers unable to hold that low. And then it will rotate down to the next range and then back inside this range going into the end of the session tomorrow. Watch closely here tomorrow. This could be another day filled with fireworks. And if we don't get those buyers to fail, we'll use that trading range and look for range rotation. Now, look at this thing go. Now, the euro is also bullish this evening, and I just started the video here right at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and look at this gap down. Well, what am I going to say now, right? What do I say now? It already did what I was going to talk about. Well, I guess I'll keep rolling here. So here we are. Euro is bullish. You gave away the ending, euro. You gave away the ending. You already went down to the seller's target. All right, well, I thought you were going to give us at least a little bit more room to go. So definitely expect to see a run back to fill that gap before we complete this rotation. You took the words right out of my mouth, you bears. All right, let's see here. On the euro. Euro very bullish today, right? Euro very bullish today after the strong push in today's session. But the bulls are hanging on by a thread. You can see those bulls, they missed the high here. Right, they missed those range highs, and you can see I had a must hit for those buyers. Very similar situation that we saw in the S&P. That was the must hit, and what I was banking on were these buyers trying to go higher and then failing back down. That's what I was watching for. But as you can see, you kind of took out the little bit of suspense there for me here, sellers, and finished the actual seller target before we could even get a shot to grab it. So, in my analysis, that bear miss at the rotation high, right? Remember, range low, up to high, back down to low. That very near miss tells me that we've got one of two things happening. Either the buyers just had to reload to finish the move, or the sellers are grabbing control here, and either way, we know there's a must hit at that 1310. So that's where the must hit came from. We needed to get those buyers up to at least get back to where they came from if they're going to have any shot at getting that rotation back higher. So now that we see a little more information now, let's adjust this a little bit more. Now we have an unfilled gap. I'll expect them to fill the gap. And then after that gap fill, I'm looking for buyer failure and then complete the move back down. This is very predictable on the euro. That missed high, not just the euro, for any market for that matter, but that bare miss, right, that near miss at that high is a very important clue. They're either A, just need to reload the gun to go back up to finish the job, or that's a clear sign of weakness, and when those buyers fail, it's going to get tackled by these sellers and finish the job to rotate all the way back down. Right? My undershoot of the high to an undershoot of the low tells me to look for 1152 as my ultimate seller target. We do expect, though, if we can get to 1152, we do expect a potential full rotation back down. But what may end up happening is we may end up hitting that 1152 and then getting right back in the middle here and kind of finishing right smack in the middle, right, for the euro. So, again, like I said, I would expect to see a gap fill back at that 50% area. So I would expect to see a gap fill back up and then finish the job to rotate back down. This is a great example of range rotation. Rotate back higher, a bare miss at the high. They're going to try to complete that rotation. If they can't, it's a huge clue. Very heavy market. Now we'll finish the rotation back down to the downside. A nice little easy trick there is to measure the size of the undershoot of the high, project it down to the low, and that 1152 becomes an excellent target for the sellers. I'll tell you though, it's really difficult for me to want to sell right here. There's a lot less profit waiting for me to be made. I'd rather see it go higher a little bit, fill that gap, and then buyer failure to rotate higher and sell it right back down. Boy, oh boy, looking at these candlesticks open here at the Globex 6 p.m. Eastern Time session and watching this S&P completely rebound afterwards makes me think we're in store for a really exciting Friday session. Now, remember, we open up our trade room tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time with all of our advanced members here at School of Trade. I hope to see you there with me. We're going to see what it looks like tomorrow morning come the U.S. session open around 7 a.m. Eastern Time, and I hope to see you there with me, guys. My name is Joseph. Thanks so much for joining me here for a great week on our nightly newsletter. And don't forget, we get a great free trial here at School of Trade. I take a lot of pride in the fact you're going to learn more with me in 1 week on my free trial than you will anywhere else on the interwebs. And we have beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels of membership, and always someone standing by 24/7 to answer all your questions. So keep in touch. Send us some feedback. My email address is jj@schooloftrade.com. I'd also love, give me a like on the YouTube video, comment under the YouTube channel. Don't forget, share this information with a friend, and come out and see me tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. We open up our live trade room. My next newsletter will be next Monday, and we're going to the last few days of this beautiful month of September. We'll see you Monday, September 28th, around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Joseph. Be well out there. Have a wonderful weekend. I look forward to seeing you in the trade room tomorrow. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.